Q&A time. What is rear steer? Rear steer is the dynamic change in position from a steer axis of the rear end housing. So that's probably a technical answer. What rear steer really is, if the rear end starts out, let's say it starts out square with the chassis, so it's square in the chassis. As the chassis moves, so as the chassis compresses or rolls, and the rear end moves, not left to right, that's a lateral position change, but as it moves in the steer axis. So if the right rear goes back or the left rear comes forward, and whatever one does, the other one has to do, or vice versa, that would be steer. Rear steer turns the car one way or the other. That doesn't mean it helps free the car up. It can help tighten it up if it's steering. If the right rear would be coming forward, for example. Rear steer is the most sensitive setup adjustment on your race car. Rear steer is, in my guesstimation, 10 times more sensitive than front steer. And if you question that at all, just simply go get on a forklift or anything that has rear steer and look how much little steering wheel input you have to place in it and how quickly it turns. You ever wonder why a forklift has a big old, really big, large diameter steering wheel? It's because the car will turn too much. A chassis builder once told me, he was explaining to me why they took while airplanes, they quit using the little wheels in the back of them to steer them because it was so sensitive, and everybody would steer the airplanes too fast and they would flip over. So rear steer is super sensitive, but it's actually the steer of the rear end. Really quickly, we measure rear steer in terms just like measuring front steer. So if your front tire is through steer is towed in 2.5 inches, as I say, as you're turning left on the right front, well, if your rear steer is measured the same way, it's actually the amount of steer in each tire. The only thing with rear steer is both tires are steering, so typically we only measure it off of one side and not both. You do not add both sides together either. It's just one side is the total steer of the car.